Welcome back to YDP Sports, where we talk all things sports, but today we're talking rugby league.
Let's wrap it up.
As the Rugby League World Cup 2021, but played in 2022, wraps up. Sponsored by Kazoo.
Kazoo.com.
Boys,
point.
man, what a tournament. What a tournament.
Yeah.
Regardless of what happened, I mean,
Yeah.
you know, there were some highs, there were some lows.
There was some low blows.
And look, we'll get to the final, but I want you to tell me first, aside from the two finalists, were there any other standouts for you?
As a team, or
Yeah, as a team.
No,
Anyone else stand out to you?
Not really, to be honest. I think the teams that we expected to make it to the semis made it to the semis.
I think Fiji stood out.
Yeah, Fiji.
Fiji's
Fiji
gotta
was
be
a
my
great.
standout.
That's a good one. Fiji.
Had they been in our pool or on this side of the draw, it could have been a different story. But they had to face New Zealand in the quarters, and they played a good game against New Zealand.
Yeah.
they played Australia and New
And
Zealand.
then they played Australia in the pool rounds, really close game as well. And then played New Zealand. So they had a tough journey.
Yeah.
But their performance this World Cup would be a standout for me.
Yeah. I think if they hopefully they can keep their young core together, for the next World Cup. Taruva, he was probably one of the players of the tournament. So shout out to him. He's going to be a gun.
Yeah, there was he was a standout at the back. There weren't that many. Tedesco did his thing. So Ali was another standout, and then there was Taruva. So he's a good player to keep an eye on.
Funny you mentioned Suoli, because my standouts were probably Tonga, Fiji and Samoa, and I know that I said we'll get to them, but very excited for League in the Pacific.
Yeah.
Very excited to see how that grows for the Cookies too. That's what my takeaway from this World Cup is, that it's looking good for us.
Yeah.
As a whole.
Yeah. I think the only the NRL shouldn't gatekeep. Meaning they only care about making Australia good and State of Origin good, that the rest of the international game lacks, because I think Australia will always be the favourites going into every tournament because they will always be the best and have the best players.
But keep
right?
a close eye on the Origin eligibility rules that should be rolled out in the next year or so, because that will impact Origin in itself, but also our Pacific teams.
Yeah.
Because then a tough decision has to be made by some of our best players, especially looking at that Samoa team. So,
Same thing for Tonga.
share the talent, share the pool of talent.
Yeah, my standout team would have to be Lebanon. Lebanon, they kind of started this run in the last World Cup as well. They had Mitchell Moses back then too, and they were pushing for a quarterfinals berth. I think they just fell short, and I think it all started from the Robbie Farahs of the world, committing to playing for them.
Yeah.
And they're only gonna grow as well.
Yeah, that's true.
Like the Lebanon community in Australia is massive.
Massive. Yeah.
And they're only gonna get better. The Adam Deweys of the world, the Mitchell Moses,
Yeah.
these
Carras,
Carras,
Carras, yeah.
they're only gonna get better.
Can I just ask a quick question? Since we're talking about the most impressive teams, can we talk about the most disappointing teams? Like, you don't have to go in full detail, but you can just give a quick answer.
I'll go. And you might cop some heat for this, but like I'm gonna call it a spade, and it's Tonga. They were so disappointing for me.
Yeah.
And
Why is that?
We needed them to be.
no, it's just the hype. Not the hype, but like the hype around their forward pack.
Yeah.
I mean, like they did some big recruitments, and David Fida, Felice Kafusi.
Yeah.
They have Taumalolo, who's a premiership winner. They've got
Kolomatangi.
you could pull their bench props of like
And they all
Adam
starters.
Fanor, Blake,
Yeah.
Fotoika, and they could start in our team if they wanted.
Yeah,
in
that
the
is
tour,
true.
in the tour team, and they were just so disappointing. Like they barely beat PNG in the first round.
Yeah.
They got past Cook Islands and I forget who the other opponents were, and then they came to the crunch time against us, and they should have, on paper they should have dusted us.
Yeah, I agree.
And
Yeah.
To me, that they were disappointing in that they didn't live up to expectations.
I think,
especially coming off last World Cup.
Yeah, I agree. I think the thing that makes them disappointing is that they had continuity.
Yeah.
They've had the same squad for a while now, and they had a lot of Tongans available for selection, and most of them decided to play for Tonga. So I think, I'm with you there, but my team would be the Kiwis.
Yeah.
Same.
Yeah, I think CK1 and I, we both can say the Kiwis have been disappointing because they said that this is probably the best Kiwi squad that we've ever had.
I thought it was too.
Yeah, I reckon it was on paper. But when the way they played like a bunch of individuals. They were put together in a team and just said, go run out and do whatever you can. And that's why I'm disappointed in the Kiwis because they could have beaten
Australia.
Kangaroos. They could have beaten Oz. And then Samoa would have had a better chance against them.
The Kiwis. I think the Kiwis as well. On paper, they should have blown Fiji out of the park.
Yeah.
And then that'll put them in good stead for Australia the next week. But they kind of didn't. They lost their mojo a bit.
Yeah.
And it came down to the team chemistry. I think it wasn't, like Jeff said, there were a bunch of individuals playing as individuals in that team, and they didn't quite reach their full potential at the tournament. I was really hoping that they would go through to the final, and versus Samoa. But credit to Australia. And in Aaron's case, credit to Toa too. Like on the other side of the Tongan disappointment was a really good and well-rounded team. That, not one that we would pick on paper, but one that actually played as a team, played for each other. And
that matters, eh?
And saying that, even though Australia took out won the cup, they didn't quite play to their full potential as well. And they only scraped the surface of their potential in that final too. Like there were some big calls that went their way, but they should have, on paper, blown us out of the park. So.
Let's talk about that final too, eh? Tell us about that final. What was your immediate reaction? I need to take you back to Sunday morning. What was that reaction like?
Well, just like you said, Bo, they didn't play up to their potential, but it's scary that this was probably their best game of the tournament. All the other games beforehand, they were scrappy. They were.
I agree.
But in saying that, they are the best. They are the best and the best. They were just in the end, they were just too good for us, and it was always going to be hard to beat. Australia, especially with Teddy running the way he was.
He's a gun.
And I'll leave it there. I'm still upset.
My takeaway from that was, you can't hate Australia. Like Australia was just doing what Australia does best. They play league really well. But the takeaway from the final was the birth of a dream that this could be done. That we could stand here, toe to toe, and no longer just like, you guys are here to fill the numbers or for a little bit of excitement, some big hits and some big runs. And that dream. You got to credit Tonga for starting that. That movement.
And we always give
props to that.
Flowers.
Let it be noted, because I'm not hating on Tonga. They did start the movement.
The movement.
And credit's due.
So the dream was there, right? Not just for Samoa, but for anyone who is not England, New Zealand, or Australia. For any other team that's looking to do this. Like, it's there, and I think that was the biggest takeaway.
Cool. I think the initial reaction was, I was just overwhelmed of just with pride, eh? Like the result of the final, it didn't go our way, but I was so proud that that Samoa was able to progress right through to the final after copying a 60-6 start against England. And you could see that at the end of the game, there were no one was down. It was kind of like the spirits were high in that tour team, which is great now. But moving forward, especially in the next World Cup, I don't want to see us in a grand final and then when we lose the final celebrate. and kind of be happy. Like, we need to set it as a norm.
Yeah.
Like, this is expected.
The bar's been set now.
The boys this World Cup have set a bar and set a standard.
Yeah.
When we get to those big games, hopefully we can step up and actually get through. And there's a lot of players that have been who have watched, who have probably would have didn't join the campaign this year, but who were watching, probably wanted to join later on when we started making that finals run.
Yeah. Good point.
That'll be around in that 2025 World Cup. And just to let them know that this is the standard we've set, like with the boys that we've had, we've set the standard. Let's expect to win these big games, and let's try to keep that mentality. Like, you know, we lost the final, we should have played better. But at the end of the day, like, man, I'm just proud. I think even going down to the parades, like the whole of last week, the vibes,
crazy,
the buzz around town, the flags. Like, the whole, I don't think I've ever seen Samoa as a country or the Pacific as a whole get behind a sporting team, and not to see them, I was hoping to win, but it was just getting behind them and just supporting. Whatever the outcome, we appreciate their work for getting us this far. And
good point.
It's just the start. And that's how I felt in the weekend.
Cool. Initially, when I woke up to watch the game, I was thinking about what you guys were saying. Am I gonna curse the boys?
And you did.
And unfortunately, it happened.
But it was worth it.
After the game, I was. How do I say this? Like, in my heart, I knew Australia were gonna. They were gonna win. Like, I just believed Australia were gonna win, but I held on to a little bit of hope that the boys could pull off the upset. I was just being a realistic fan there, but I still got up and watched. I think what I take away from this tournament in the World Cup is that there's hope now. There's hope for the future. And just like what Bo was saying, seeing all the people get behind Toa, seeing all the parades and just people being happy and like waving. Like, I'm not really a patriotic person in a sense, but I was out there waving my flag, and I'm like, and that just, there was a sense of pride that came over me.
Are you waving the flag or the rake?
So there was a sense of pride, but like my main takeaway is that there's hope for us Pacifica nations going into the next World Cups. Like I was saying before, I hope that there's no gatekeeping, you know, that they all of a sudden change the rules because they want to keep all the Polynesian players now. The only way the game can grow is if there's more international games. They can't just wait for a World Cup to come around and then you start playing international test matches. They need to keep it consistent, have like a international period, maybe during the, maybe in the origin period as well. Something like that, like a mid-season tournament where the boys can still get together, carry the momentum on, so that when the World Cup comes around, there's going to be more buzz. There's going to be more proud people backing their teams, whether it's Samoa, whether it's Tonga, or whoever it is that, I just want the international game to keep growing, because if this is what it is going to be like, man, it's going to keep growing and growing if they keep it going.
I guess that's the heart of it then, is to see league grow worldwide. And that's, as Jeff was saying, that's the only way it's going to happen. Otherwise, it's going to be a sport for people in Australia. And New Zealand, and barely New Zealand, but also just, and people in the UK. And barely anyone over there too, in comparison to other sports. So it would be really cool to see the sport grow worldwide. Finally, before we go, who didn't have it this tournament? Who just wasn't? Who individually for you did not play or did not live up to expectations you thought they would play it? And I know mine already.
Maybe you can start us off then.
I'll start us off because I'm going to say who didn't have the tournament and who was Himothy. Who was that guy? And I look at these two side by side. Unfortunately, it's got to be Cleary and Luai. Cleary not having the tournament.
What a contrast.
Cleary not having the tournament, the World Cup, we thought he was going to have and we expected. And Luai just going out there and carrying, especially in that last game.
I like
especially in that last game, eh?
Yeah.
Why is that guy?
He is that guy.
I think he
He's a bad man walking.
He is him.
Yeah. And who was carrying and who got carried for you?
I was gonna say Luai too, but he needs his flowers. He needs his raps, because he when Saw were down and out in a few games, he just stepped up.
Yeah.
And that's what really differentiates good players from great players. And he's copped a lot of heat for being in the shadow of Cleary, but he stepped up big time.
Yeah.
Made big plays. If you watch and you analyze Luai's game closely, it's not just when he has the ball. If you watch in defense, if you watch his Penrith games, he's got the energy. He's bringing his lineup. Cleary kicks, Luai chases, and he's the first. He gets there before most of the wingers or the outside backs, and he's that guy. Like, he body on the line, plays with all his heart, and you'd see that. I saw that this World Cup. So he was carries for me, even though Chris said it. Being carried, I have to be careful. You have to be, because mental health for players. Yeah, and I've seen a few players cop a lot of heat. Yeah, especially in the talk camp after that final. Shout out to Anthony Milford, who's doing. I've seen some unjust comments here. Yeah. Like, my thing is, these players put on the jersey. They answered the call to represent our country. Yeah. You either back them 100%. You support them through it all, and if, like, as a professional athlete, if you have a bad game, you know you had a bad game. Yeah. And it's on you to reflect on your performance, because you're a professional. Right. Your opinion as a couch coach, as a fan of the game, really doesn't matter. And you can shoot the shits online, and you can have your talk. That's fine, but they're a family of these players who see the comments, who see the posts, and it's not quite, it's a professional arena. I understand you cop criticism all the time, but man, for this case, for Milford's case, this World Cup, I thought he stepped up.
Yeah, he's proven himself.
Yeah, he's proven himself. Yep. Are there players he would have wanted back and wanted to have another go at? Of course, and that's every player. Yeah. But you can't fault someone who answers the call to represent their country, to play at the highest level and think about the people that you're doing it for.
Well said,
and that's my thing, because and I'll leave it there. Like, I won't say, I won't single out who's been carried and who's been. I'll just say that there are some players who I know, and they reflect on.
Who's a player then that didn't have the World Cup you think they thought they would have? Because I get what you're saying, and I think what Jeff touched on before is like attacking the player personally, and then saying that my thing, you as a player, like in comparison to how you usually play or would have played, like you just
Dylan Brown, I think, didn't really peak thinking of his potential and what I thought the half pairing combo that they were going to bring into this World Cup. I thought that he was going to he carved all year. Yeah. He played every single game in the regular season. They had a finals run. I thought he was gonna build on that, but he kind of shied away. He had glimpses of his potential, but he didn't quite have the World Cup that I know he was capable of. And so, not necessarily carried, but I think if he was to replay this World Cup, he would have wanted to improve some of his performances.
Is that?
Yeah, nice. Just to kind of double down on what you said, Bo, and I won't go too much into it because you've covered most of it. I've seen those messages too, and I've seen those photos and of things that have been sent to like some of the players, like in this particular case, Anthony Milford. It's just not called for. It's like these are people that are donning the jersey for us. They've representing our small nation, and they're doing it at the highest level of the game that they play.
Yep.
It's like, what have you done for Samoa? These guys are putting Samoa on their back, and you're just singing 685 through your speakers at home. There's a difference in levels to this. And here at YDP, we don't take that kind of nonsense. And, just be mindful of what you say, and what you send to people, because they do see these messages, and I'll just leave it there. But and my player that I felt didn't live up to expectations this World Cup was David Fida, and it's not anything that he done in particular. It's
how they rotated
him, and it's like he is that guy.
He's a beast.
He's a beast. Like, you need to be playing him.
He's right there.
Yeah, you need to be playing him like 50 minutes plus. Like,
it is at least.
And I thought like Christian Wolf and the Tongan camp were bringing him on when I was trying to score, like when they're behind, or when it was just not needed. Like
I think David Fifita is one of the most underutilized players.
Yeah, that's what I mean. And I think
freak of an athlete,
and they just underutilized.
And I think if he was in the Australian team, he would be like 4 tries a game. I think. I agree. I just think he wasn't used properly, utilized properly, like you guys said. Yeah.
Who's your player? Who's your tournament player? Or your
mine is Joey Soali. He's been a revelation for
us. The
19-year-old, throwing guys off left, right, and center. He's just he's just a beast of a man.
He's the $1 million kid, straight up.
Like I've said multiple times on the Either Side Sports that I don't mind criticizing players for their performance, but when you're attacking them personally, when you're attacking their families, when you're seeing them death threats, whatever it is, that's a no-go way. And look, I'm a culture coach as well. So like I'm not gonna ever tell those players what to do. But can I say my opinion? Of course. On the game and on the plays itself. But never attack the players personally. I'm never a fan of that. But yeah, just to go to the players that didn't really meet my expectations this tournament, I'll say it's Brandon Smith,
Yeah.
Brandon Smith for me,
because he's such a gun.
He's such a gun. I just had high expectations of him coming into this tournament because I viewed the Kiwi spine as one of the best spines in the tournament.
Jerome Hughes,
and Brown. It didn't click for me. And then I think the moment I remember of Brandon Smith is and it's just the way he plays. He plays so hard and aggressive that he just runs out of energy so fast. And in the play where Cam Murray just went right at him. He literally
tapped the ball and ran at him.
Because he saw he was tired. I think Brandon Smith's gonna carve up for the Roosters next year. So this is just
Brandon Smith is he's another animal.
The cheese.
Yeah, the cheese. He's
and you guys already touched on Soli'i, touched on Jerome Luai, and I'm going to touch on my boy, Stephen Crichton.
Don't touch too much.
Stephen Crichton, I think he just went to show that he's one of the best centers in the world. I think a lot of people are saying he wants a fullback spot, which rightfully so. He'll be a great fullback, but he is probably top 2, top 3 center in the whole world. So shout out to Stephen Crichton, the intercept king, and you proved my analysis right.
Can I just say quickly, Jerome Luai robbed of the Golden Boot award. Just saying. Just saying. It went to Joey Manu, but
I think it's because Joey Manu's also played more international games this year.
No, it's based on the year.
Based on the year that was. The whole year that was.
Oh, okay.
So they bowed out before Samoa, and I don't understand how he got it.
But I think they took into consideration that the Pacific test that they had of Tonga, Joey carved up. Joey carved up, but Jerome was playing Origin, so he
3 out of 4 men of the match.
I still think Luai should have won it.
Joey Manu's him though. He is him.
He is.
Joey Manu's best centre. Like, don't get it twisted.
Yeah.
You're a centre.
Yeah. What's our final takeaways?
Yeah, the final takeaways for me is, as a fan, is this tour and what they done, tour Samoa and what they done. You know, just
685 for your speaker.
Tonga had already lit the fire, eh?
Yeah.
And these guys just poured gasoline on that.
Yeah.
You know,
Oh.
and they just poured gasoline all over there and took that fire like 4 or 5 stories higher. And not to say like they're better, even though they are, but but I mean, what I mean is like what that does for us, Tier 2, what that does for us Pacifica nations, as far as rugby league and on the world stage, you know, and what that does for a young kid watching that and saying, oh damn, is that my country? Was that that's the island just across from me?
Yeah.
That's them in the finals, eh? In a sport that has been dominated by 3 countries.
Yeah.
Man.
Right? That was it. And my second takeaway is exactly what you guys have touched on. You know, we talked about this last week or the week before. Have your opinion. It's all good. Have your opinion, but doesn't mean it matters. Right? And it will never justify pulling someone down. Especially if that someone is sacrificing their body and potentially their career through injury to put their nation, their small nation, on the world stage. Yeah.
Great thoughts, buddy.
Yeah, you can't fault any of them, eh? My takeaways will be, like Chris said, the hope for the Pacific, eh? And don't sleep on Fiji. Honestly,
Let's go.
like Tonga lit the torch. Samoa carried it on, and I think Fiji will probably take it to another level when they get the chance to as well. So don't sleep on Fiji. Another thing I don't want to talk about, but just touch a little bit. Man, I saw some after that tour, after the final, I saw some racist ass comments coming through. And I saw people who were just waiting for the buzz to die or for the tour to fall. And it's fine, eh? Because you start to see the ugly part of the world rear its ugly head. And a lot of it was from our own people too. So, but man, like if you can't see the beauty of what this World Cup brought to New Zealand, to Australia, to Samoa especially, and then to all Pacific people around the world, then I'm sorry, then nothing will do it for you. And there's nothing that you shouldn't be following the sport anyways. But yeah, that's my takeaway. 685 to the world. That was actually a movement, eh? And it was good to see Uncle DJ jump on. It's good to see the Uso tour.
My cousin T.
The Uso tour. Even Juju and all the NFL players and just global figures backing the boys. So yeah, that's nice.
Me, I got 4 takeaways. And one was a beautiful moment that I saw. It was the Tongan. I think it was maybe their community that in the
old
UK,
boys,
the old boys,
and
it was
some of
Fui
the boys,
and they actually cooked for the Toa Samoa boys after the game.
That's cool.
And they put on a spread for them, and I thought that was beautiful. Number 3, the World Cup opener. that should never be a thing ever again.
Honestly,
in the bin with Sparks.
Number 2, Sparks Pork. You can get out of here.
Never have the World Cup in England.
Uppercut yourselves.
World Cup should only be played in Australia and New Zealand. And finally, my last one, Samoa and Tonga need to be a yearly thing. It needs to be a state of origin vibe type of thing.
I agree. Great points, buddy. Yeah. My final takeaways is, man, shout out to all the smaller nations. Like PNG, you have your PNGs, you have your Greece, your Irelands. Shout out to all of those nations that actually participated in this World Cup.
Yeah, man.
Because without those teams, this World Cup wouldn't even happen. Don't take the World Cup back to England ever again. That was That was trash.
Yeah. I admit that the final was a vibe. The final.
Yeah, but you see how small those in goals were?
Yeah,
there was
and getting your biggest audience up at 3 in the morning, 5 in the morning wasn't on.
Yeah, the World Cup organizers need to do better. But yeah, lastly but not least, man, shout out to Samoa for making it to the final. Always proud. We'll always rep 685.
685.
Let's
baby.
go, baby.
Well done, fellas. Another one in the bag.
Let's go.
Striker.